Now turn to the serious trouble in the Middle East with the violence in Syria escalating. World leaders are urging the United Nations Security Council to act on a resolution calling for the country's president, Bashar Al-Assad, to step aside. One of the leaders who's come to the UN is Sheikh Hamad bin Jassam Al Thani. He is the Prime Minister of Qatar, the small Middle Eastern country that is rapidly gaining influence and power. I met with him yesterday to talk about several issues, beginning with Syria, where he is playing an important role at the conversations in the United Nations. You've been busy at the United Nations. You have also been out front in calling for something to change in Syria. You have some opposition from Russia. Where does it stand?
At the moment, what we are seeking that the Security Council to say for the Syrian government that this killing have to be stopped. And this need one voice from here. I'm not sure it will stop the killing, but at least will show that the international community is not accepting what's happening in Syria at the moment.
What do you think could make President Assad change his mind and stop?
Well, I think if he listen to his heart and his brain, that this people is his people. Your power, you take it from the people. If the people doesn't want to give you power, you cannot rule with their blood. You cannot rule with their bodies in the ground. And I urge him and urge his government to take the necessary steps in this direction.
My understanding of what you have said earlier is that perhaps Arab countries should send troops there to support those who are fighting the regime.
This suggestion is not to send to fight with the people of Syria. It's a peace mission, a military peace mission to stop the killing between both sides.
Do you believe that he can remain in power?
Well, this is up to the Syrian people, actually, but I always said any power come in this price, I think he should not accept it.
He should not stay in power?
Yes, if this is the price, I think he should not stay in power.
If the price to stop the killing is for Assad to leave the...
He should do that. And this is my personal opinion.
And if the price is for him to leave the country, should he leave the country?
Well, I don't want to be in his place to say if he leave the country or step down. That's belong to him and to the Syrian people to decide. But I think he should decide to take a brave step to avoid this happening in Syria.
Is his alternative what happened to Gaddafi?
I wish not. You know, we know the President Assad. We have a friend relationship with him. But the problem, we cannot, if we will choose between a person or a nation, always we will choose the nation.
If he makes a decision, or if the people in Syria say, and those who oppose him say he has to go, he has to leave the country, could he go to Qatar? Would you offer him asylum? Well,
I don't want to speculate again. The main thing is we will help to stop the killing. I believe Syria is an important country in our region, and we need a strong Syria.
You have seen parliamentary elections in Tunisia. You've seen elections in Egypt, parliamentary elections, presidential election coming up later. There's some concern about Islamism and Islamist regimes coming to power, parties coming to power. Should anybody be worried about that?
First of all of us Muslims. And if they are coming to power by the ballots and by election, I think we should welcome this move, and we judge every government about their act, how they act. If they act according to the rules, if they help their people, if they develop their countries, we should not be worried. I'm not worried from this.
When you look at Turkey and you look at Iran, they are two of the more powerful countries in the region. They're non-Arabic countries, yet they're principal players in the region.
They are our neighbors. Iran is a very close neighbor for us. And I think they're legitimate that they have a role in the region.
So what would you say to the Iranians about their own nuclear program? Are the sanctions working?
Well, we are against any sanction if there is no reason.
And is there a reason to have sanctions against Iran?
I believe now the best way to get out of this problem to have a direct dialogue between the United States and Iran. And I think it has to be serious dialogue from both sides to reach a peaceful, conclusion about any misunderstanding between both parties. I believe they have to talk directly.
Do you recommend that to the U.S. government?
Well, they know my view.
What would happen if the Israelis attack Iranian nuclear facilities?
First of all, we disagree. We are rejecting any military action from any kind to Iran. That's our principle, and it will stay like this. Of course, we are watching carefully what happened, and we are this risk is in the table. But for us, we pray that this option is not being used.
You also have been supportive of Hamas. You have been supportive of Hezbollah, as is Iran, as is Syria. Yes?
Yes, we have a relation. We have a dialogue with them because we believe we have to talk with everybody. Also the Iranian and Hezbollah blame us because we talk to the Israelis.
Right.
So we have this problem with both sides. But for us, we need to hear the view directly from every party.
Qatar is getting a lot of attention. It is a prosperous country. It has enormous plans to investments in its own country. It has good relationships. It is going to be the site of the World Cup, which brings much pride to your country. There is a really remarkable renaissance. Give me your vision for this, for Qatar as a place.
Our vision is how to use all the wealth for the people, for their pride, for their future. And if you want to start future, you need to start education. Our duty is to try to work for our children and grandchildren, for the generation come to live in the same level.
You also seem to me that Doha seeks to be a kind of a place where there's a huge discussion of international issues. You want Qatar to be a place where the free flow of ideas takes place?
Yes, people find it a ground where they can discuss things freely, which they can talk about the problems in the region. They can talk about economy, about political, about social. So we are happy for that. We work hard to do that because 15 years or 10 years ago, nobody knows where is Qatar. But now Qatar in the map. And the challenge now, how we can develop this, how we can sustain that.
You were going to ask a follow-up.
I love the question, Charlie, that you said, would you be willing to offer asylum? And he said, well, I don't want to speculate on that. I also wonder, has he reached out to the Syrian president? I know that was the only interview he did. Maybe should we send him a copy of the interview
to Assad and say that one more leader in the region wants you to step aside?
There you go. This is what he said to Charlie
The interesting thing, too, is that, as you know, Qatar is the home of Al Jazeera, and the government owns Al Jazeera. So I said to him, so what about Al Jazeera and its power? He said, many headaches for me.
Because everyone calls him to complain?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Every head of state who doesn't like it says, what about your Al Jazeera?
Now, he says Qatar. I've heard Qatar, so I'm going to go with him.
I go with Qatar, too.
I'll go with Qatar.
That's great, Charlie. Thanks.
Thank you.